say, so the word is settling now across the nation that Dragon's Den has picked a couple of new dragons, right? We know that now. Right? Vikram Vij is going to be a dragon who was on our show not that long ago. Previously, David Chilton was on our program, then suddenly David Chilton becomes a dragon. I'm sensing that we're the king and queen maker over here. Justin Bieber, if you've ever need a reason to do this show. No, I don't want to use that on Justin Bieber. Your Worship Mayor Rob Ford, if you ever wanted to be on the program. Dragons breathe fire. He consumes fire water. This is what we do. This is what we do, people. Listen, I'm not in the habit of giving you too much advice. It's not that I don't care about you. I generally care about most of you. But Kevin and I were talking about this before we went on the air. It's parts of the country, certainly east, now the sun's starting to come up a little bit. It's not as cold. There are potholes out there, right? If you ever wonder, like, I'm not going to make the joke that I could, but there are potholes out there that wear a helmet. Wear a helmet. Andrea Martin is on the program today. Well, how great is that? Andrea Martin's going to be here. I'm so excited about that. I tend, and I know it pisses off a bunch of people that I'm doing hockey and I don't consume alcohol, but I like to think that that's okay, especially on days like this. I know that today being March 18th, almost March 19th, your hangover should totally be gone by now. Like, it should be gone. It's 11:30 at night, and if you still have a really bad hangover, you don't need Gatorade and an all-day breakfast. You need a doctor, all right? You need to get one soon. Last night, we had this wonderful conversation with Michael Bublé, right? He's so handsome. That was on the West Coast. Tomorrow night, the East Coast, 7 o'clock. Watch your show at 7 o'clock, Grossmore National Park amongst the fjords with Alan Hocko. And then, after that, like March Madness and the brackets, we have a handsome-off between Bublé and Hocko. And they're both dirty players. So, we'll see how it goes. A lot to happen. Let's get into it. Deal with today, shall we? You ever been to like some dinner or your work makes you go to some event and you hate it? You abhor the idea of eating that, and the joke is rubber chicken, but in these days you'd be thankful if it was rubber chicken, right? You know, it's chicken found in a pothole that Rob Ford once lived in. We don't know, but he has more than enough to eat at home. Oh, hold on. It's a campaign. We're allowed to do that. But sometimes somebody on stage is speaking and something happens and you gotta go, oh, that could be interesting down the road, but we don't know how important, right? Well, it was on this day in 1892, March 18th, 1892, you're at this nice little banquet for your local hockey team in Ottawa. Maybe you're enjoying a joke, maybe you're daydreaming about the hunky prime minister of the time, John Abbott, and somebody at the podium starts to read a letter from Canada's Governor General today. And here's I have for some time been thinking that it would be a good thing if there were a Challenge Cup, which should be held from year to year by the champion hockey team in the Dominion. I am willing to give a cup, which shall be held from year to year by the winning team. That Governor General, of course, was Lord Stanley of Preston, and the cup he was talking about, which at the time was really more like a bowl, we now have the Stanley Cup. Today is when we got that one. And that's an important thing. It is the oldest, let's face it, it is the coolest pro sports trophy in the world. Certainly in North America, with maybe the possible exception of the NASCAR Spork, but that is only because that rib juice ain't gonna scoop itself off your t-shirt. So you need something. Speaking of famous Canadian things, who is the most famous Canadian? Just yell it, who's the most famous? Gretzky, Celine Dion, what else, who else? Avril, okay, so check this out. Our American friends at MIT, the Pantheon Project, did this study on global fame. The goal, as I understand it, is to quantify fame statistically. They do it by calculating who gets the most Wikipedia pages. That's right, worldwide since 2008, in the most languages. So not just who gets searched the most in Soviet Kazakhstan, where we live here, but who gets the most searches around the world. Presto chango, they can determine your fame index score. In America, the most famous is Martin Luther King Jr. So most people either in America or around the world, for Americans, are searching out the good Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I think we can all agree that's a good choice, right? In the kingdom that is united, the United Kingdom, which, let's be honest, dominated by the Brits, of course, Billy Shakespeare was the most searched person. It makes sense, right? Think what people in Hollywood are searching William Shakespeare stories still so they can get ideas. No, the whole world wants to know about Shakespeare's contribution to a language that none of us can even speak now, barely understand, especially if your drama teacher drinks. It's hard. But which gentle viewer do you think climbed to the top of the statistical summit in Canada? Who do you think it is? I'll give you a second. Just stop. Wait, no. Yeah, stop. Oh, right in between Silly and Margaret. People in Canada, because I don't know if you know this about Canadians yet, we're kind of a bitchy crew. If things don't go our way, we get really nasty. Well, Canadians freaked out so much so that MIT had to respond to us. That's how whiny you were. They're like, whoa, easy. She just came in #1 in the index. Avril Lavigne, the most famous, you know who's #2? Jim Carrey, Justin Bieber, and Celine Dion. Jim Carrey gives us hope. Jim Carrey gives us hope. All right. I just want to take this opportunity to do a joke at the expense of the charter values in Quebec. Can I do that? Do you mind if I do that joke? But we're actually going to use news, okay? So Greenpeace, if you notice that Greenpeace is really into climbing these days, I don't know if they just started YouTube tutorialing it or something, but a few months ago, protesters climbed the BIOSPHERE on Ile Sainte-Hélène. This morning in Montreal, it was the cross at Mount Royal. So they climbed that cross and they unfurled the banner like so. Justice. Says justice. Convenient? Spelt the same in English and French. That's okay. They're protesting a company called Resolute Forest Products for what they call destructive logging practices in the boreal forest. Greenpeace also claims that Resolute is logging in First Nations territory without consent. One question, though, if Pauline Marois wins the majority, does that cross have to come down? Does that cross have to come down? Here's where I'm supposed to say I was just joking. I wasn't. Does that cross have to come down? And the Pauline Marois story is interesting because there are polls out there, one poll really, that suggests that the Liberals have creeped ahead of the PQ in Quebec, but it is really just in the popular vote. And in the first past the poll system, which is oh so effective for democracy in this time, isn't it? Pauline Marois and the PQ could still actually have a majority. And if they get it, and they get that charter values in, does the cross come out of the fleur-de-lis? Don't, ooh, yeah.